Now, look, I spoke last week to Trevor St Baker, the Australian businessman with major interests in power stations and fuel supply. He straddles both sides of the so-called clean energy transition. He owns a coal-fired power station at Vales Point and an electric vehicle charging firm, Tritium. Speaking at a recent energy conference, he said, quote, "As for this crap that the banks have to look at their climate risk, the risk of banks not investing in essential industries for Australian wealth, if they go out of business, it'll destroy economies. Virtue signalling by bank managers saying they'll not lend to an essential industry in Australia is going to bugger this country's businesses." He said they're not going to have cheap power, jobs are not going to be there. Trevor St Baker says this is the mess we're in. I said I'd bring him back because you have raised many questions about electric vehicles, and Trevor joins me again. Trevor, thank you for your time. Just recapping there, you've got this company which is a world-leading electric vehicle fast charger developer and manufacturer, global headquarters in Brisbane. Are you saying that the electric vehicle charges, this will take off around the world?
Well, there's a decade or two, all of the old gasoline Bowsers will be replaced by electric Bowsers, and it's a business that has a possibility of creating enormous numbers of jobs around the world. And Tritium has got 20% of the American market and 15% of the European market amongst the 41 countries we export to, and we're now being on the process of being listed on the US NASDAQ stock exchange for about $2 billion.
Righto, Trevor. Now, let's just say the electrification of cars is unstoppable. I presume the cars are going to be made in China. But are you saying that the electricity will be sourced from renewable energy?
Well, the thing is that the electric vehicles have the batteries on wheels that will help change the demand for electricity, so that we can produce electricity, store them in batteries, and
produce electricity from what? From what?
Well, they can then demand electricity from the grid when it's off peak, when there's wind, and ultimately they can be made counter-intermittent to solar and wind generation.
But you've also said, haven't you, that coal-fired power will have to be part of the equation for years to come. Haven't you said that?
Well, the world is electrifying. The transport industry is electrifying around the world. The gasoline burning in the rural areas is being electrified, and in business there's more electrification.
Sure.
So just as Matt Canavan was saying earlier, that China is growing its demand. It's drawing on every generation resource it can. When it can get some hydro, that's fine. They've got high mountains.
China's up in the sky. China's up in the sky generating solar power. It's got satellites up in the sky. It'll be able to power the whole of the world. But I just want to come back. To one simple question. How long in this environment will coal-fired power be needed to achieve the ends you seek? You own a coal-fired power station.
On any assumption at all, Australia, which doesn't have nuclear or lots of hydro, will go from about 70% of our electricity from coal at the moment to possibly half of that in 2 decades' time.
That's right.
And that will come from all of the coal-fired stations staying open and backing back to wind and solar when they're there.
But we need coal-fired power stations. Let me take you to this point. I've had a stack of correspondence. Let me ask you this, Trevor. Nissan Leaf. A fellow wrote to me he bought a Nissan Leaf in August 2012. It cost him about $53,000. It's 7 years old. He says today it's worth $12,000. It had a 5-year warranty on the battery. They claimed 175 kilometre range. He said he only ever got 120 Ks. He said now he can barely get 25 to 40 Ks. He took the battery in. They said there was nothing wrong with it, but they gave him an invoice for a new battery, $33,000. He went to another outlet in the ACT and he got a quote for $29,600 for a replacement battery, $750 to fit it in, and Nissan are complaining about a lack of government support. My question to you, Does that make sense to the average Joe out there in Struggle Street? It's a bloody lot of money.
My St Baker Energy Innovation Fund is a co-investor in a true green mobility. We're bringing in $35,000 electric cars with battery and all, with a 500 kilometre battery in it.
China are making these cars. China are making these cars.
Well, they are, but they're the only source of a $35,000 electric car with a 500 kilometre battery in it, and that is the game changer.
I know.
That will use.
But they're doing all this without coal-fired. They're doing this with coal-fired power, and we're exporting the coal. But I mean, if the replacement battery is $33,000, you could buy about 20,000 litres of petrol for that, and in a similar-sized conventional SUV, you could go about 400,000 kilometres. So if you're getting your electricity free from rooftop solar every day, you'd better hope you get 400,000 kms out of the battery, haven't you? Or are my maths wrong?
Well, the example you gave is saying that the cost of a battery for a 10-year-old Nissan Leaf is $33,000.
Yeah.
They can buy a new BYD passenger vehicle for $35,000, including its battery. So the examples, the example is not true. It will use domestic.
Right, but when you have the car which is no longer any economical, then it's got to be dumped somewhere. The battery's got to be dumped somewhere, and presumably buried somewhere in a tip. I mean, is that sustainable use of the Earth's limited resources?
No, the world, in all of these examples, those are some of the details that can be talked about at length. But the reality is, the world's transport sector is electrifying. It's electrifying to improve public health. It's electrifying to use cheaper indigenous fuels, and it's being electrified to improve the economy. And on top of that, as a byproduct, it is able to be connected to the grid to electrify it, and ultimately, the growth of electricity demand for transport fuels will come virtually exclusively from solar and wind, because it can be taken off peak. It can be taken when the sun's.
Right. Well, now you stop there. One of the reasons I want to talk to you is that you can't get any discussion or any debate anywhere on this issue. So I hope you don't mind. I'm going to bring you back and we'll go into further detail about all of this, because I think it's a very important subject that needs to be covered, Trevor. You've got the knowledge. It's good to talk to you. I hope we can talk again.